Hello my loves, and thank you for joining me. It's Kirsten and today we are doing day 10 of the 13 days of horror, and this one is vampires. Before we get into it though, I hope you're doing well. Grab yourselves a beverage and let me know what are some of your favourite vampire books, but let's get straight into it. I'm going to do my usual disclaimer though that there are a few other vampire books which I haven't mentioned in this video, but I'm just trying not to have too much of a crossover between different recommendations because I am doing a lot of them. So there are obviously the classics, Carmilla, Dracula, that I'm not talking about in this video that I spoke about in the horror classics video, etc. But anyway, let's just get straight into this, starting off with Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice, one of my favourite books of all time. Look at this beauty. I adored this book so much. I love everything about it. I think it is beautifully written, it's really decadent, and we are seeing an interview with Louis, who is turned into a vampire by Lestat, and we're seeing his struggle to kind of come to terms with being a vampire, the morality aspect of it, and it's just so beautifully written. I really enjoyed this book. I annotated it to death, as you saw. There are so many different things I was pulling apart in this book. Let me get my annotation guide up. It's probably the most extensive annotations that I have ever done in a book, but I have my traditional quotes that I love. We've then got a tab of relationships, and I'm talking about the relationships between Louis, Lestat, and also somebody else that comes on the scene. Not giving away too much in case you haven't read the book, but just seeing those relationships, how they work, how they can be very manipulative, and just seeing the effects of all of that. Then we've got death, passion, and drinking blood, how that's all kind of tied together. There is a lot of talk about death and drinking blood and how that is linked to passion, almost bordering on sexual passion in a way. Then we have discussions on morality and humanity, which I adore. Like, I love all of this philosophizing on life, what it means to be human, and it's brilliant. And then we have social comments, lots of social commentary in this book, dealing with different things, especially because it's spanning quite a bit of time as well, so you do get a lot of different social commentary. And then with the last one is references to Dracula, which of course, this is a fantastic book. I would really recommend it. If you enjoy vampire books, if you enjoy Dracula, you should be reading this book. It is so good. I haven't continued on with the series. I tried reading the second book and I DNF'd it, unfortunately, but this is a masterpiece in its own right. It can be read as a standalone and it is just absolutely stunning. I cannot wait to reread this because it's actually a whole thing that happens in this book which I didn't annotate that much. The time that I was reading this, I was very tired, but there was something that goes on in this book that I really wanted to delve deeper into, and it's to do with a third character that gets turned into a vampire, and I think that story is just fascinating, the different things that you can take from that. And that's something I love about vampires in literature, is that we can really delve into different aspects of what it is to be human that gets really explored by using vampires as a metaphor. So I think it's fantastic. I love it. Then we have A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This is more based on Dracula. Now, it's written in epistolary format, but the letters are being written to us as the reader, and we are Dracula, even though it never gets named. You know it's Dracula, and we're following one of Dracula's brides, how she became a vampire, the twisted relationship between Dracula and her, the toxicity, the manipulation of it all. Brilliant book. And this is another way that vampires are used a lot, is like a metaphor for a very toxic romance, a very difficult situation and trying to get out of it, especially with the power dynamic and things like that. Brilliantly written. This is so lyrical and beautiful, and I just adored it. This was such a good book. Definitely one that I want to reread. I did annotate. Oh, I did put a key in. A lot of this was very like simple annotations though. I've got one for manipulation, quotes that I love that I found really powerful, and then moments of depression inside the book, which is definitely a topic that is explored a lot because they're in this toxic environment, how that can have a toll on mental health and the situation that you're in, how it can really weigh on you and cause you, like you're trying to change yourself to fit the mold of the oppressor, and how it's not great. But what I like about this book is you see them rise up and take their own. So yeah, fantastic book. It was really beautiful to read. I'm really happy that I read it, and I just, yeah, this was lovely. Also good for the retelling side of things, so if you do want more Dracula inspired books, I would check out the Retellings video, which I'll have linked below, which was day 3 of this 13 days of horror, but I'll have it linked below for you. Another one by S.T. Gibson is An Education in Malice, this time a retelling of Carmilla. I wouldn't really say it's a retelling, it's kind of, I would say, similar to A Dowry of Blood, where this one is kind of taking place before the Dracula book, and this one is also taking place before Carmilla. It's kind of how Carmilla became the vampire that we see. I guess it is a retelling in the sense that we've got Laura in this book as well, which is the girl that the girl that convinces her father to have Carmilla stay with them in the original classic, but instead it's done in an academic setting. We have both girls going to this school to learn poetry underneath this professor who is a vampire and is very toxic and kind of draws them in. I would say go into this if you want dark academia vibes, not a dark academia storyline, but this is really good. This book explores things like sexuality, it explores the toxic romance, it explores power dynamics and manipulation. So a lot of the classic things that you would expect from a vampire story you get in this. The writing is very decadent and luscious, and yeah, this was a good book. I enjoyed it. I kind of wanted a little bit more on the dark academia side in terms of the plot, but I do think the relationship between the two girls, between Laura and Carmilla, was done fantastically well, and that's something that I will give full credit to. There is a further plot line which wasn't my favourite, and I wish we took that out for more of a dark academia lean to this, but it was very good. So we start off seeing Laura join this academy. She gets kind of brought under the wing of the professor and is kind of invited to this very exclusive part for people that the professor sees as very good at poetry, but also she has a darker secret, and Laura ends up being the second student in this little group, the first being Carmilla. Laura then discovers the secrets that are going on, and so ensues a darker path that Laura wasn't expecting to go on. Very good book though. Then we have Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V. Schwab, and while this wasn't quite the book that I was looking for, it is a really good vampire story. So this book is kind of separated into parts. We get 3 different women. One is from a more present day timeline, and we follow her more consistently throughout the whole book. Another one is Maria, and she is the timeline that we get the furthest in the past, and we're seeing her, how she is riling against society, of riling against her lot in life, and the vengeance that she takes. And then we have another lady that we follow, but we kind of get that halfway through the book, and she is someone that gets tangled up in Maria's web. So it's kind of like we've got the story of the 2 women, Maria and what was the other name? Charlotte. They get tangled up together, and then in the modern day story 2019 we've got Alice, who is kind of the resulting kind of aftermath of those 2 women and their tales, but we get her story the whole way through. I do enjoy it. Like, I do think there are issues with this one in terms of I wish the stories were more interwoven between them, instead of having like the first half be Alice and Maria and the second half be Charlotte and Alice. Like, I wish it would have been more connected between the 3 of them, and I do think there was a way to do that. But aside from that, I think the way the vampires were depicted, the setting, the atmosphere to this was really well done. It is on the vein of Addie LaRue, which I love. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue so much. So I did enjoy V. Schwab's take on vampires and this more historical lean to it all. Again, it's more decadent writing. A lot of the books that I've chosen are ones with very decadent writing when it comes to vampires, rather than the horrifying side, because for me that's more in line with how Dracula was, because I don't see Dracula as a horrifying book at all. So instead it's more that gothic lean in writing, which is what I have lent into for this video. Obviously there are more books with actual horrifying vampires in them, but they're not my personal favourite to read, but I just thought I'd mention that. But yeah, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, a good book. I did like it. And then lastly we have House of Hunger by Oh no, not lastly, I've got another one to mention after this, but I do have House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. This I really enjoyed. I really liked how the vampires were written in this one. It was done very subtly. It's not like the traditional vampire that you're used to seeing, but I did really like this one. So we're following our main character, Marion, and she's not doing so well. She's really down on her luck. Her family's really struggling. So she decides to become is it a blood maid? Blood maid. And blood maids are looked down upon in society. Basically, we have the elite society, and they like to drink the blood of blood maids because it gives them that extra edge over society. And Marion's like, you know what? I need something. I need money. I need security. So she decides to be a blood maid and gets tangled up in this dark web of lust and seduction that comes alongside this environment, and I really enjoyed it for that. I think it really explored that side of things. It's not vampires in the true sense of we've got these beings that are using fangs to cut into people and stuff. It's not like that, but it is with that taking of blood, what it represents, the power dynamic that comes with it, the sensual nature of it all. Like, I do enjoy it, so I think this was a really good book, and I really enjoyed how it was explored. Again, this is one that I annotated. If I kept my annotating key, I always put them in different places, so I never know. Very simple annotating key. We've got quotes that I love, social commentary, and things that were just creepy and unsettling. So yeah, I mean, I love it. I've already mentioned how vampires are used in literature to comment a lot on different things within society, different relationships, power dynamic, as well as exploring things that are seen as more forbidden when it comes to sensual sexuality. So I love that. I love how they are used like that in literature. As I mentioned, there are a lot more horrifying ones that I haven't mentioned. I've also not delved into romantasy or other more heavier fantasy books with vampires in, such as like Empire of the Vampire by J. Christoph, or even The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. That is a good book. I enjoyed that, but they're very subtle in the vampire element rather than being a little bit more explicit, but that was a really good book. So yeah, there are so many others. If you are interested in more just general vampire recommendations, looking at vampires in literature, how it's changed over time, I've done a more in-depth video a little while ago now, but I will have that linked below for you if you're interested. But these are just some that I just wanted to talk about that I think are really good for reading around this time of year specifically. Editing Kirsten just jumping in quickly to give one more vampire book recommendation, and it does vampires in a really interesting way. I literally finished it yesterday, and that is Blood on Her Tongue by Joanna Van Veen. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was such an interesting tale, not just a unique take on vampires, but also a brilliant tale of sisterhood. So we're following Lucy, and Lucy is going to be with her sister because she's had some really troubling letters from her and she's not doing so well, so she goes there, and we get this tale of her sister being ill, not knowing what they can do about it, things getting very disturbing, and it is to do with vampires, but just in a very interesting way. And I really enjoyed the depiction of it because it was just so different. I liked that. I really liked how it took clear inspiration from Dracula. Like, there were certain scenes that really reminded me of scenes from Dracula, but did it in its own spin and its own way of what vampires are, what they need to survive, and things like this. I thought it was really well done, and the whole time we're exploring sisterhood and how you will do anything for each other, and I really loved that. You know, they have their ups and downs, they have their squabbles, some of them being petty, some of them a lot more heartfelt, and Lucy makes a lot of comments about how her sister Sarah is the only one that can hurt her as well as what Sarah does, and it's true, because you're sisters, you know exactly what can hurt one another, but at the end of the day you will always be there for one another. And I thought it was just such a good tale of sisterhood, but alongside that you have love, obsession, you have the way women were treated, because this is set in the past, and how women were treated for hysteria and things like this. So anytime that they were trying to prove a point, anything like that, if the men didn't agree, well, you're just hysterical. So you have a lot of moments like that I think were really well done and looked at. And then of course the vampires, and it was just so good. We also have a bit of a queer romance in here, not from the main character, but it worked really well with the storyline, and just in in general, like, this book was so nuanced, it had so many layers to it, and I very much cannot wait to read more by this author. So yeah, this was brilliant, a really, really good book. So I had to come in and just quickly mention it, because I just think a book about vampires, and this one doing it in such a different way, it needed to be on this list. And yeah, I was very impressed with this book, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, I expected to like it anyway, but I just thought it was so intriguing the way it was all tackled that I was like, yeah, this has to be mentioned in here. So I'll let you get back to past Kirsten wrapping up the video, but I really did want to mention this, that if you haven't read it, then you really should. Like, it is such a good book. It's also got moments of letters and journal entries, so if you're wanting to use it for Sarah from Wicked Readings Horror Bingo, you could do it for the epistolary format, or published in 2025, or even the vampire prompt. So this is a really good one for that if you're wanting a recommendation for that bingo. But yeah, I don't know which one I'm going to use it for. I'm kind of leaning towards the epistolary format, because if you saw day 1 of these 13 days of horror, you would know that I kind of messed up on what I was using for epistolary format, just because of the way I want to read it. So I may use it for that, because I do have other 2025 releases that I want to get to. We'll see how that all goes, but I just thought I'd quickly mention that this is another one that I really, really recommend. Back to past Kirsten. Oh wait, I forgot to mention a couple. I keep doing this because I don't own them. So I've got So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. This one is more of a look at a woman that's not happy in her marriage. She's very frustrated. She feels like her life's kind of over. She sees herself as really old, but she gets for her birthday, a little surprise holiday getaway with her best friend, and they end up going to this party where they encounter vampires, and things go from there. A pretty decent, more fun take on things. And then you do also have the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. Not my favourite. I'm not a massive fan of Grady Hendrix's writing, but this one is an interesting take on vampires, and it does use the vampires as a lot of social commentary in this book, so I do think that is another one that's definitely worth mentioning. Apologies, I just forget that because I don't own them. So those are some examples of other ways that vampires have been portrayed in literature, but you can see my preference for the more gothic lens. But that is it for this video, so thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far but just don't have anything to comment, then feel free to leave like a blood drop emoji in the comments below. If you have any other vampire book recommendations, then again, put all of those in the comments below, that would be great. And yeah, I will leave it there. So thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate all of the support, whether you comment, whether you silently watch, like, it just means a lot. An extra special thank you goes out to all of my patrons for all of your support over there. Like, I can never truly express how grateful I am to have you, but it really does mean the world, so thank you so much. And if you have enjoyed this video, then please do consider giving it that thumbs up, subscribing and commenting. Those 3 things really help this channel out. My social media links, anyone I've mentioned, Discord and Patreon, will be linked below for you, and I will of course catch you in the very next video.